I welcome you once again, and I have told you that I will give you some important tips on ICT. So far as my promise is concerned, I am just giving you some tips which will be so important for the exam point of view. First of all, let's start our discussion on education technology. So, what is education technology? What is education? There are three root words from which the term education is derived. One is educare, two educier, and three educatum. And all these three Latin words convey us the meaning that the word educare means to bring up. Suppose a child is so tiny one, how can it be treated and nourished to make it a grown up boy? So this is the meaning of bring up. Okay. And what is the meaning of educier? Educier means to lead out or to draw. And the word educatum means teaching and training. So if all these things are closely observed, then they contain same meaning. So the simple meaning of education is the art of acquiring and imparting knowledge. This is education. Now come to the second part of the term, that is technology. What is technology? So technology is a branch of knowledge of industrial science and applied sciences and engineering. Right? By applying technology in the industrial sectors, we can produce more and more goods. That is the industrial products. And this is only technology. But what is education technology? Education technology is the systematic application of knowledge in order to make the practical utility of the term education technology is clear to you all. Okay. So now come to know what is the aims and objectives of education technology. There are two aims for which education technology is important. Number one is to provide appropriately designed situations for learning and teaching. Here comes two words. One is learning and another one is teaching. But these two things are different. One who teaches, he teaches to the second person, and the second person at the same time learns. Suppose I am teaching and you people are learning. And this teaching learning process should be bilateral, and to make it alive and to make it fruitful, the situation should be created and it should be so pleasant, and the mode of teaching should be pleasant, and the mode of learning should be so attentive. Right? If the processes we follow is exactly out of emotion and out of exaggerations. For example, if a teacher is using a particular word again and again only for making the student memorize clearly, that's wrong. Rather, the child becomes annoyed. He becomes bored of listening it. And this process will not at all be helpful for good learning. So, a designed way must be invented, must be employed to make teaching learning process easy, comfortable and enthusiastic. The second process is to modify the learner's environment by presentation of material, by arranging the different learning activities and by organizing the physical and social surroundings of the learner. Here three things were told. How can we modify a learner's environment? The learner must listen to you if three things were done. Number one is presentation of the material. Suppose you are teaching science. So you are teaching that if acid and bases are mixed with each other, the result will be the evolution of a salt and water. Only saying this again and again will not come to of any use, because it is lack of practical utility. If some acid and bases are drawn and they are mixed before the children, and the children must watch it and they observe it, what are the chemical processes are taking place, and then they will practically see that salt is coming out and water is also coming out. In this way they can better understand the substance that you taught them. So this is the presentation of the material. And the second thing is arrangement of different learning activities. Always one type of activity will not be able to make the child or make the learners understand better. So the teaching process and the activities must change from time to time. Suppose you are taking a literature class and you are teaching the students a poem. In the poem, you are teaching rain, rain, come away. Little Johnny wants to play. So this class will be so active if you bring rains into the classroom. So how can you bring rains into the classroom? You have to create a situation of rain. Not that whenever you are teaching the students this poem outside the classroom, it is raining. If it is raining outside the classroom, that's good. But if it is not, then you are to use the blackboard. A suitable figure will be drawn in the blackboard so that they feel that it is raining. And yes, it is raining and we are drenched in the rain. So when it is raining, everywhere there is water. And little children will not get any room to play. So activity must be changed. And the third thing is organizing the social and physical surroundings. Social surrounding and physical surrounding. Social from social point of view. You are teaching, suppose you are teaching tradition or the heritage of Indian culture. Whenever you are teaching children about the customs and traditions of India, you have to keep it in mind that your classroom may contain different category of students coming from different religions, coming from different communities, caste and creed, etc. and etc. And each religion, each community, each caste and creed follow different types of culture, different type of customs and traditions. So if you give only one tradition of one particular religion or community, then the other children must not gain the practical knowledge from it. Then you are to cite different examples for them. This is from the social point of view. And what is the physical point of view? Physical point of view is that suppose you are teaching and it is the third period and the children are feeling bored of you and electricity has gone out. It is a hot day. You are teaching them mathematics. Mathematics should be taught with a so pleasant atmosphere. If you can arrest the mind of the children and they will be focused on the very point you are teaching them, then it will be so easy. If the situation or the surrounding is not comfortable for them, no mathematics will be taught successfully. But you have to create such a situation there. So that they will ignore the situation, they will ignore the surroundings and they will listen to you. These are the aims of education technology. Now come to know what are the objectives or characteristics of education technology. Okay, I am giving you some points and you have to follow them. 1. Education technology is a fast growing discipline. It is influenced by advancements in the field of behavioral sciences, physical sciences, and electronics, etc. Point 2. It is essentially a practical discipline rather than a theoretical construct. Always, you should not go by theory. If you teach by practical examples, practical instruments, then the teaching will be lively and it is more fruitful. Third point. It is the science of design, development, and application of individual equipment to the field of education. Right? Education technology is just a design. It is just a design and developing activity. Next, it locates the problems in education and provides remedial measures and ultimately aims at improving the education system. That means it locates the problems in education and provides remedial measures. At the time of teaching, what are the problems the children are facing? There might be some situations like weather condition, situations like the wretched condition that and the children are so disgusted. So in this situation, teaching learning process will not be so easy, right? And you have to detect the situation. And next point is education technology is an application science wherein the researches and findings of diverse social science fields like psychology, sociology, behavioral sciences, engineering, physical sciences are applied to the field of education. So many things were told here. What are the components of education technology? So one of them is psychology. A teacher must be a psychiatrist. He must know each and everybody's psychology of the children or the learners present in the class. And then the sociology. Sociology, that is, teacher student must be social to each other. There sometimes their behavior and their mode of talking, their nature, they are so odd. And this oddness is not the fault of the children. Why it is not a fault of the children? Because they are watching the activities of their parents and other relatives at home. Whatever they are watching, in return, they are imparting, they are showing. In order to make them sociable, you have to take much more effort and attention by means of rendering them love, sympathy, and telling them moral stories. You can change their behavior, you can change their sociological problems. So this is another factor. Come to the next point. Education technology plays an important role in making the teaching scientific, objective, clear, simplified, and interesting. Actually, it is also another important point of education technology. Why teaching is required? Teaching is required in order to make a complex matter into the simpler one. We have to go from complex to the simple. Right? Then the children will be enthusiastic and they will be so happy to grasp it, to understand it. They can show it in their practical ways. So, simpler and simpler situations should be created. Next point. Education technology is bound to improve the teachers, the learners, and the teaching learning process. I have already told you. Education includes teaching and learning. Both the teachers and the learners are to be trained much. A teacher must be a researcher. So he should be in the habit of thinking. How can I make the matter simpler to my children so that they can easily understand it? So it is a never-ending process. It is just a progressive process. Every time a teacher has to think of the simpler plans. How his teaching should be so easy for the students. Okay? And this is an important element of education technology. Next, the educational technology is a comprehensive term and is not be viewed in terms of its parts of processes. It includes instructional technology, teaching technology, programmed learning, and micro teaching, and system analysis. So many things were told here. So number one is education technology is a comprehensive one. What is comprehensive? Comprehensive means understandable. Bodhagamya. It should be so clear and transparent. That is easy to understand. It includes instructional technology. Instruction. So many instructions should be given. And instructions are in the form of examples. You have to give an appropriate example. And the next thing is teaching technology. Teaching is itself a technology. A teacher himself or herself a method. Not that you are to always read and follow the method so that you can teach well. No. You are to find out. You are to formulate a methodology. How can you make the teaching process easy? Okay? And programmed learning. Before entering into the class, you should make yourself conform that what you are going to teach. So lot of practices should be done. The information and practice makes a teacher perfect. Okay, and this is the programmed learning. And micro teaching. What is micro teaching? Sometimes the teachers are teaching at a random because they want to finish the course, but the children understand nothing. Then what is the use of this teaching? Okay, so micro teaching is you have to choose a particular paragraph or your subject matter should be so confined. You have to plan, you have to make a plan of your teaching schedule. This paragraph or these two paragraphs I will teach today. And under these paragraphs, what are the vocabulary, what are the new words, and what are the new facts are to discuss, and how you can cite examples in which sentence, in which situation, and you have to make it planned before you enter into the class. Okay? Next, it lays stress on development of method and techniques for effective teaching learning. Clear it is? Okay. It lays a stress on development of methods. Stress must be given. Okay. On what? Developing methods. You have to develop methods, easy and effective methods. You have to employ and you have to develop. It stresses the organization of learning situation for the effective realization of the goals of the education. What is the goal of education? What are you going to teach? What are you going to tell the children? What is the exact goal of telling this or teaching this? The internal message of the text you are just going to teach the students should be clear. Then your teaching will be successful, otherwise not. And this successful teaching is education technology. It's a technology to make this education fruitful. Expected behavioral changes in the teachers and the pupils are possible through education technology. And provisions of measuring devices for testing the results of learning are emphasized in educational technology. Last thing is that after your teaching or after the teaching learning process is over, if some behavioral changes does not come in the student and the teacher, then all these things come to of no use. So after your teaching, if the students behave themselves, if their behavior changes, if they try to think something better than before, then it is fruitful. This is the proper education technology. And you have to follow them. Okay, these are the objectives of education technology. Clear?